What exactly is co-living and, why is there such a big buzz about it right now?
Yeah, it's a new asset class. Corey and I and a lot of the people in the co-living world really believe in it. It's a response to the affordability issue that all of the major metros in the country are facing right now. My co-living experience prior to PadSplit was mostly based in the Bay Area, some in Portland and Seattle, but with those types of renters, they were usually higher earners, being in, those higher cost of living states, mostly tech people moving into these cities, wanting that sense of community in the co-living place that they stayed at. Whereas with PadSplit, it's truly affordable housing because right now, at least in Arizona, and it varies market by market, our average rent for a studio is probably 12, 1300 a month, not including furniture, utilities, cleaning of the common areas. So there's a higher barrier to entry into the traditional accommodation. Whereas with PadSplit, everything is included and there's no deposit and there's no credit check as well. So people are able to afford a pretty nice place. They're kind of Airbnb quality on the interior with a low barrier to entry.
I mean, there's an entire group of people that are overlooked in regards to housing. There's a whole demographic of people that cannot afford a studio in any of these regular cities, even some of the smaller cities. Yeah, in Phoenix, it's expensive. So if you're a worker, somebody that makes somewhere between really 30 and 50 grand, that's kind of the demographic. And that's a massive demographic. They could afford a studio, but then they can't afford anything else. Like Ellis was saying, it's taking up 50% of their income. Whereas now they live in a really nice house. They have their own room, so they still get the benefits of living in a house with a beautiful kitchen and sometimes a really nice common area, and their own private space. But now they're saving almost $400, $500, $600 a month, and they're able to, create this. They're able to save. They're able to position themselves, like Ellis said. So, I think in the future where apartments are an option and studios are an option, I truly think that like co-living, rent by room will become just an acceptable living option that we have in the country.
It's really serving a need. I mean, especially in the metro area, it's like things are very expensive. You know what I mean? By the time even if you can afford to have a studio, one bedroom, and then you have to pay all your utilities, then you have to eat, and then it's like you have nothing left. So I think this is like a really great option for people. I mean, so far even in our property, like we've had people, they do have really good jobs. Like I have a professor of college, like she teaches in the college, but she told me that she would like to stay in our place for a year because she wants to save, but this time next year she would like to buy her own house. So she's really using PadSplit to save money towards buying her own property later. So we have people like that and people that are just like in between, and we have someone that's just like they're planning to move out of state in about 2 months, but they need a place. So it's just different people that it's really serving a need. And because the utilities are included, it's like, what? Say that again? Free internet? Okay, sign me up.
I think another hesitation that I hear from clients, what we've seen is co-living gets more cash flow than traditional long-term rentals, sometimes even like midterm and short-term rentals. But I think a lot of people hesitate to go down that road because they feel like it's just so much more work. So I don't know if you guys can comment on like, what is the additional work? Does PadSplit do anything to kind of help alleviate that? Like, what do I have to do as an operator, basically, if I'm going down this route?
Yeah, I'll say one thing and I'll pass it to Corey, but I think PadSplit is kind of in between long-term and short-term. A little bit more hands-on than long-term because you are dealing with multiple people in a single property. A lot more hands-off than short-term because on average across all of our different markets, people are staying about 9.5 months. So it's really just that's how big of a gap there is in affordable housing. People tend to stay longer as long as they have a good experience and it's managed properly.
Yeah, I think especially with number one fear always when getting into this is like, oh my God, there's all these people in a house. How am I going to manage that? And, it always is kind of like the worst case scenario. There's like the party and, it's like a college frat, but it really isn't. Now, Ellis knows, and I do too. And I've known a lot of operators and, we have a lot of people that we coach that don't have proper management. It's just like anything else. As long as the systems are set up correctly at the beginning and they're enforced, you can have a really well-run, really high cash flowing property that lasts for a long time. PadSplit takes care of all the, the billing and all that stuff. But really, when it comes to managing the house, you do have to have good property management because it's still people. And yes, it may be 8 or 9 or 7 people. However, there's definitely dynamics. They are working class people. They typically do just want to work, eat, sleep, quiet, and they just want a clean, quiet, and safe place to live. So if you can provide that and then have communication and systems in place to make sure that people respect each other, make sure people clean up after themselves, make sure that everybody's safe, it can be a really easy run as long as it's up front. But just like long term, if you mess up and don't have a good property management company long term, or you don't screen the tenants up front really well, it can be a nightmare, and that person can ruin your experience of real estate in general. So it's very similar. And then PadSplit's platform also allows management companies like myself to use their platform, be on their platform, and do extra screening inside of the PadSplit platform, so that we actually have the final say on whoever gets in that house. And that's what happens with all of our properties. And then we can kind of match too, like, hey, this person might not be a fit, this person might be. But as long as the systems up front are set up, it can be a really easy cash flowing process.